Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Um, Today we are going to have an important topic, which is to talk about the requirements gathering process in the system design interviews. I would say that process or this step is the most important step in your system design interview. If you if you nail this step, you have a high chance to succeed in your system design interview. If you didn't do this step in the best way possible, your interview is done. So the requirements gathering is the foundation of system design. It's the process where we identify, analyze, and document the needs of stakeholders to ensure the final system meets their expectations. In other words, it's about figuring out what needs to be built and why. This is the what all this process about. So the first thing, we need to identify the stakeholders. So the first step is to identify all the stakeholders involved. Stakeholders can be anyone impacted by the system, including end users, clients, managers, developers, subject matters experts, whatever it will be. In this one, like in your system design interview, maybe the stakeholder will be a client, like a user, or maybe like it will be something, could be like desktop application, something like that. So you need to identify this process at first. And number two, we need to define objectives and scope. Define the objectives and scope of the project. What is the system supposed to achieve? This is one thing. Second, maybe what are its main functionalities, and importantly, what are its limitations or constraints. This clarity prevents misunderstanding later and keeps the project on track and keep you on track in your system design interviews. So we need to know what its main functionalities. For example, if your interviewer tells you design WhatsApp, so you know the main functionality is to create a chat application that have like send receives things like that. Um, Also, what's supposed to achieve? What is the purpose of this one? What is the limitation? Like, what is the level of scalability? So let's assume that we have the WhatsApp question again. So do we serve million of users, or we have like a small application that serves only 100 user? What is the limitation? What is the scope? What is the scale? This is the second import. This is the second step, and it's a pretty important as well. Like everything we are going to say here is important. You have to nail all of them together. The second thing is to conduct interviews or workshop. It's basically like here in this one, I would say this you will not do this in your interviews, but it's basically telling you to prepare. Um, like you can create like one-on-one discussion to dive deep into their needs. Maybe you can have like a collaborative workshop. You need to train yourself in this type of interviews, specifically in the first step. You need to train yourself. Maybe you hear to a lot of people talking about system design interviews in YouTube or something like that, or you do it by yourself, but you need to do this. You need to train. Like first, identify stakeholders, define the objectives, and you know how this process is going. After that, need to make some sort of workshop, or you need to train yourself on this one. Number four, it's I guess pretty obvious thing is to document everything. Like once you gather the insights, it's important to document them. Use techniques like use cases, like to show how users interact with systems, like user stories, maybe functional specifications, whatever it will be. And in your system design interview, I guess this step it will be pretty simple. You just like type what you think about that you get from this step and this step. Okay, the next one, it's a pretty important, which is to prioritize the requirements. So not all requirements are created equally. Use prioritization techniques like I don't know, like what, like whatever it will be. Like we have a must-have, which is essential features. For example, if we having a question, a sentence design interview question to design our WhatsApp, so one of the most must-have things it will be to have like one-on-one chat system and to have like a so to serve something like a receipt delivery and read status. This is a must-have. There are some things like should have, which is important but not critical. For example, to add like analytics and logging. There are something that could have, like nice to have, and if time and budget allow. And there are there are some things that won't have, like features that are not in the scope for now, which is in your system design interview, won't you won't have to design as well a notification system. You might use a third party because to make the process way more easier. This ensures that you don't basically do like one of the most problem things that comes in your system design interviews, that you find developers basically say like go deep into a lot of different topics and they got lost because they are not well prepared. They don't have a good prioritized requirements. And I would say there is also something important to validate requirements, like validate the requirements with your interviewers or with your stakeholders. Like, does everything align with their needs or what they're thinking? Are there any conflicts or ambiguities? Address these issues through discussions and consensus building to avoid surprises later. And I would say in your system design interview, it's pretty important to validate everything. It's do not assume anything. Do not assume anything at all. Every Even if it was pretty basic, do not assume anything. Just to validate every requirement. Just to try to have a conversation with your interviewer to make sure that you are nailed it and you're not designing something it's totally away from what your interviewer is thinking. So just assume that you and your interviewer are trying to solve a problem together. So it's not all about you. It's you and your interviewer, and you're working together as a team. Number seven, we have iterate and refine. Like requirements gathering isn't a one and done process. Be prepared to iterate as maybe the stakeholders or maybe your interviewer provide feedback or project dynamics to change. Refine the requirements to stay aligned with the project goals. Maybe your interviewer will tell you, okay, it's good, but we need to add more things. For example, a group chat, something like that in your systems interview. And maybe the stakeholder will say something like that as well. Next, we have manage requirements changes, like establish a process to manage changes, like use a change control mechanisms to evaluate and approve modifications. This prevents scope creep and ensures the project stays aligned with its objectives. Number nine, we have to review and approval. Before moving forward, review the requirements with your interviewer or with your stakeholders. Make sure everyone agrees and signs off. This approval acts as a contract, ensuring all parties are on the same page. And I would say, when you, for example, let's say that you are gathering the requirements, you have to get the reviewer the approval from your interviewer. So you said, okay, are we okay right now? Should we continue right now? It acts as a contract, like we agreed on this, so we are going to continue it. Finally, communication and collaboration. Like you need to like foster open communication and collaboration throughout the process. Use tools like maybe prototyping, visualizations, and feedback. But in your systems and interview, you need to communicate like all the time. Like, don't act as there's a problem and you have to solve it by your own. No, it's a problem and you and your interviewer right now as a team need to solve it. So you have to communicate and invite him to collaborate with you. So he will not be a side of the discussion. It's a really important step. And I know there's a lot of great developers fail in their system design interview because they didn't communicate as well as they should. So yeah, that's it uh, for uh, for this video. Maybe each point needs a video by itself, like how to prioritize the requirements, how to validate the requirements. Maybe there is another video need to be like how to define the objectives and scope. But for the sake of this video, let's say that this is good for now, and maybe create in future other videos to talk about how to nail this project and how to nail this step each one. So that's it for this video, and see you in the future.